allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Could we have roll call, Jenna?
Yes.
Go ahead, you got your choice, ladies.
Got a good spread tonight. Trustee Stout.
Here.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yep.
Trustee Belt. Here. Trustee Pater. Here. Trustee Kreiser. Here. Trustee Grabowski.
Here.
President Knutson.
Here. Item 2 is public hearings, which we have none. Item 3, approval of the regular village board meeting dated November 18th, 2025. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections as the way it is presented this evening? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve the minutes from November 18th, 2025 as written.
Second, Kreiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are hereby adopted. Second item is the minutes from the November 24th, 2025 special village board meeting. Again, I hope everyone's had a chance to look them over. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections as to the way they are presented this evening? Again, if not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes for November 2024-25 special morning village board meeting is hereby adopted.
I abstain, just for the record.
Oh,
I wasn't here.
Okay,
I abstain as well. I wasn't here either as well.
that's okay. Okay, item 4, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with the board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is unable to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time being indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody here that would like to make a comment? Okay, we're going to move on then. Item 5, ordinances, we have none. Item 6, we have no resolutions. And item 7, we have no old business. Okay, item 8, new business. Review, discussion, and possible action on cross-connection inspection contract with HydroCorp. I hope everyone's had a chance to go over those thoroughly. Are there any questions or comments as the way it is presented this evening? If there are none, I'll look for a motion to approve or deny. Anyone?
Make a motion to approve the contract with HydroCorp. Value is $34,391.70 for 2 years. Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Review, discussion, and possible action on proposal for 2026 Prospect Avenue Design Services. Again, I hope everyone's had a chance to go over them. Are there any questions or comments as the way it is presented this evening? If not, I'll look for, again, a motion to approve or deny.
One question.
Yes.
Dave, we removed, are you, I know it was mentioned in here, I'm just, for the sake of clarification, we removed the sidewalk on the east side, correct? Connecting between Lake and School? Yes. Okay, I just want to make sure that it wasn't in the scope for RA. Okay. Correct.
I was trying to figure out where that is.
So it was an extension of the side, if you have ever noticed, there's a random orphaned piece of sidewalk on the southeast or east side, the library side of Prospect, by that corner white picket fence house. And Dave was originally exploring the idea of connecting that up to School Street, right? School, am I right on that one? No.
Well, no, school is,
No.
that's what was throwing me out. So school
sorry.
and lake is up here, actually by the school.
Yeah. So
So
it
up
would
here?
be running, be running along Prospect here. So
Oh.
between lake and school, Public
whole way.
Works, the Public Works and Safety Board took this up, and knowing the scope of what this project's going to entail, didn't feel like it was in our best interest to get into that just because of the potential cost of securing the right-of-ways, retaining walls, and everything else, because that's a pretty sloped sidewalk or front yards there. And instead, we opted to make, for safety purposes, with the pending, potential, imminent, whatever you want to call it, of the bike trail that's going to be put in through the city up to the school, that we actually add sidewalk across Prospect to make all of Prospect traversable via sidewalk all the way from Lake up into, is that Spring? No, Maple, thank you. So basically, you could cross coming out of school and still have access to the whole village then via the sidewalk across Prospect. There's a section missing up there
By
right now.
the apartments.
Those three, yeah, the apartments and those three new houses that were just built.
Yeah, the sidewalk is desperately needed over there.
So rather than adding it at the lower end, add it at the upper end to connect the sidewalk to the school up there.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Good foresight.
So I know Pirate Pass is a school, is owned by,
Us.
oh yeah, sorry, yeah, now it's us. Whenever that conversation comes to fruition, can it be looked at to have a sidewalk on Pirate Pass? I see, obviously I live there, but like I see kids walking on that street and people just walking all the time there, and it's curvy and people drive like crazies. And when there's all this snow, I know this isn't on the topic right now, so, but when there's the snow mounds, like people are forced to walk on the street and it's super dangerous and it makes me nervous, and I feel like we should have an avenue to get to the school.
We will add that to the next Public Works agenda.
Thank you.
But yeah, so to get back to what the agenda was, that the clarification was that we removed that section out of the original scope of project, the sidewalk on the lower portion of Prospect, removed that from the scope for RA. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have heard that from people who their kids cross there, but I do think they were more looking for a stop sign, and the guard is usually positioned there during school.
Right. So that runs us into, that's a perfect segue after we close this out for the next one, because that basically runs us into the situation we're dealing with in the future agenda item, where if one person does not give us the right of way there, it's useless. Or the easement, I should say, into the right of way, it's useless. We're gonna look like the part of Pewaukee that intermingles with the city, where we have one house with a sidewalk, one house without, one house with. So, okay. If there's no other comments, I will make a motion. Cool. Motion to approve proposal for the 2026 Prospect Avenue Design Services.
Second, Rudy.
Bob can have it.
We have a motion and a second. Any
Spirit of
further
giving.
discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action on proposal for 2026 street utility improvement program design services. Again, I hope everyone's had a chance to review this. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections as to anything that you have on this particular subject? If there are none, I'll look for a motion to approve or deny.
Motion to approve proposal on the 2026 street and utility improvement program design services.
Second, Rudy?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding change order number 2 from Mid-City Plumbing at well number 4 HMO treatment project. I hope everyone's looked that over and understands what's going on up there. Are there any questions or comments as to that particular item?
WCTC is covering the whole change cost. Right?
Okay. Do I have a motion to either approve or deny?
I'll make a motion to approve the change order number 2 from Mid-City Plumbing for well number 4 HMO treatment project.
Second, Peter.
Here we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion here is again adopted. Review, discussion, and possible action to introduce the process and timeline of the performance evaluation of the village administrator. And are there any questions or comments as it relates to that particular item?
I'm passing that information out right now.
Okay.
So Rachel and Nick, over the last 8 or 9 years, I have led the process in regard to the assessment of the village administrator. And so what we go over right now is essentially the process and timeline. I essentially am the central point for any input and information that is put together. I put everything together and then share it with the board at the next meeting. So I'll go over the timeline on this, and again, breaking it into 2 different parts. One is a review of the 2025 performance, sharing essentially the communication that you're getting right now. There will be score sheets and input from the village administrator in regard to his recap and his accomplishments that will be mailed out on or before Thursday of this week, 12/4. So between December 4th and December 14th, then, individual board members will evaluate that input. They'll look at the objectives and the score sheet, provide me with a recap of that information no later than 12/14. Please send your recap only to me. Do not send it to all. You will be receiving the information from Matt. I cannot send it to the full group. Matt will be sending it out. You send your recap and input directly back to me then, okay? Then on December 16th, the village board meeting in the closed session will review the summary of ratings and the comments, and then we will discuss and come to a decision on the 2025 performance. At the same time, we're going to be doing the 2026 performance goal setting for Matt. Again, December 2nd through the 14th, you'll be receiving information from me through Matt with a Word document that talks about the input that the village board members would give. It will include, again, Matt's 2025 objectives and goals. You will then give me your input. It's a pretty easy rating system I use, 1 through 3, okay? 1 is does not meet, 2 meets expectation, 3 exceeds expectation. I've been through enough of these processes in my prior job where consultants have suggested very complicated, but it really comes down to the same thing. It's either they didn't do it, they did it, or they exceeded that expectation. information. So we keep it very simple. And again, it'll all be explained in the documents that we're sending out, that'll be starting out, Matt will be sending to you. We'll again review that on the December 6th, at the December 16th meeting during the closed session. One thing I ask is when you are, when you're doing this goal setting, there's parameters that I share with you, things like they have to be measurable. It has to be things that can be accomplished during this period of time. Again, there'll be more information in regard to that. Going back to the performance review for 2025, if you are giving a does not meet or you are giving an exceeds, please provide me with a comment. The only way this can really be a beneficial practice that we're providing Matt is if we provide, if he's not meeting or he's exceeding, you got to provide a comment. Okay, I understand whether it's meets, it's more difficult, but really the comments are the greatest value to improving Matt's performance in the future. So it's really important that they do that. The week of January 19th, why the 19th? Matt's out of town, or out of the country for 2 weeks. So we will be meeting, Jeff and I will meet with him on the 19th then to go over those, the 2025 goals, results, and the 2026 objectives that you have provided input. There might be some tweaking as far as if there's concerns. He can't, if he doesn't feel, he will provide information on whether the best way to measure certain items. I'll provide you with a final document. So, any questions in regard to that? Key thing is get the information back to me by the 14th, okay? And again, you will be receiving the deck of information, the email from Matt no later than Thursday of this week, the 4th.
It'll come from Matt, but we send it to you.
Yes,
Understood.
but you send the results back, or your input back to me,
Thank you.
okay? Just to me, do not copy all, okay? Any other questions?
Thank you for spearheading that.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, we're gonna go onward then. Excuse me. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding sale, update on a village administrator goal report, staff oversight. After you're in.
Yes, thank you, President Knudsen. So one of the goals that the board did set for me last January was to develop some sort of an annual report demonstrating or documenting that management activities or supervisory activities are occurring with the staff. So specifically, what the board asked for is a report on my one-on-one meetings with my direct staff. Some sort of a report that performance evaluations are occurring for village staff, that goal setting is occurring for village staff, that village staff are being rewarded based on merit through their evaluations, and that exit interviews are occurring. So in the packet, you'll find my report on these activities. So this is for such report. I'm looking for any feedback if there's something that you see missing or that it should be improved. And the only other specific question is when we initially discussed this report as one of my goals, we were thinking, or we had envisioned like a March submittal. That is after my evaluation, so I wanted the board to have this in their hands beforehand. Would you like to see it again, an updated version in March, or should it really be adjusted for this time of year?
I don't see it attached to the packet. Was it sent a different way?
I'm looking at the packet now. So there is a memo for this item, and then it looks like a memo. On the subject line, it says 2025 Village Administrator Goal Report to the Village Board.
Page 42 in the packet.
Thank you. So that was the report.
That is the report.
Understood.
It physically resembles a memo.
Mm-hmm.
It's the papyrus letter.
I was like, this feels
Blends it in.
duplicative, but I didn't catch that part of it. Okay.
And as always, if there's feedback or questions that you want to have after, it's sometime outside of the meeting, that's always available to you as well.
Anybody have any other questions? Thank you, Matt. Then we're gonna move on to review, discussion, and possible action regarding sale or retention of a portion of Simmons Woods Park, PWV 0897984 west of State Highway 16. Normally, I would ask if there's any questions or comments, but I think, Matt, you might wanna just give them a little heads up on what's going on here.
Sure. Thank you, President Knudsen. So as we discussed at a previous meeting, the village staff received an inquiry/complaint from somebody outside the village regarding storage of boats on a village parcel. And it took staff some time to figure it out, that staff wasn't even aware that Simmons Woods Parks extended west of Highway 16. But yeah, there's a little sliver of land that people were storing boats on. And when staff reached out to this company, apparently there was an informal agreement that had been reached between the village and this person, but there was no record of this for village staff. So the village attorney reached out and contacted them, asking them to remove their materials, which I believe they have now, is what I understand. But the next step is, what do you want to do about this sliver of land? And it's really up to the board at this point to kind of put us on a path. Do we investigate selling it? Do we investigate renting it somehow? Do we investigate, or do we just want to just keep it as part of the park? I mean, Nick isn't here tonight, the director of our joint parks department. He had explored with the DNR what our options were. If there's DNR funding for some park areas, they don't want you to get rid of that land in the future. But the DNR has confirmed that that portion of the land is not encumbered by any kind of previous grants. So it's really up to us what we want to do with.
Has there been any discussion with Centerpoint to this point?
Well, just the notification, well, there was a verbal conversation between Nick and them.
I mean, post them vacating the property.
Not that I'm aware
They
of.
haven't responded other than moving the boats.
No, I never received a direct response from them. The response to my letter was for a representative from Centerpoint to reach out to Nick Phelan. There was a conversation there just confirming that the personal property had been removed from village land. I think that was the extent of that conversation.
Yeah, they haven't.
And the conversation I had with the owner was that basically we will be working, we'll do our due diligence in trying to get this problem solved.
Do you have any idea what the land is worth? Any land assessments done?
Well, I think what staff is looking for at this point is just a threshold direction from the board, whether or not you want to pursue selling or investigate selling or not. I think one of the natural first steps, if you are inclined to pursue selling, is having a formal appraisal done of this property, because currently it is not its own parcel. So I would doubt that there is any sort of appraisal on the for assessment. So I think that would be the natural, obvious, good first due diligence step is to hire an assessor, a real estate appraiser, and have the parcel appraised. The village knows what it is worth, and can use that as a starting point of any potential sale.
And then in that, you can also get a rent schedule, so they can appraise the land, and then we can ask for a rent schedule, so they can actually provide rental comps, so we can actually see what we would make on rent per year versus selling.
True. Am I correct in thinking, though, we have to have a survey and is a plat
Yeah.
John?
they would have to
Certified
go-
survey.
Do anything?
Not before you do anything.
Okay.
Before the parcel can be conveyed, a certified survey map has to be prepared somewhere along the line.
Okay.
That can be part of a negotiated, offer to purchase, that those costs go on to a seller or excuse me, go on to a buyer or with the village. It does not have to be done as a precursor to selling it.
But as of right now, we don't even know if there's access off of Sussex Street,
So
correct?
that's what I was gonna mention, is that I spoke to Nick about this because as an initiative that my brother and I have taken on years ago, was to try to find a permanent dog park location. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this. Now we got a plot of land that's not gonna actually take away from the parks. And I spoke to Nick about it, and he said, I know it's mentioned in here that he basically seemed indifferent about what we did with it. It's not really usable to us because might require a right of way or an easement there. There's no public parking. There's very little benefit to the park system. So that's the situation we're running into with it. So I don't know about the feasibility of selling it if there's no real access to it.
Unless
That would be
it's
something the appraiser as well would put
Correct.
in their report. They look at the access issue, to what extent it exists, doesn't exist, and then factor that into the feasibility and the value of the land.
So the text he's showing a little over 50 acres,
on just that side.
just on, yeah, and obviously.
No.
It's not correct.
That's all of Simmons. That's all of Simmons Woods.
Right, that was as I was trying to say.
Yeah, this thing is less than 2.
Right, but I think it would be important to have that information for the appraisal. I'm gonna appraise, so, okay. It would be very important to have like a very accurate acreage.
Correct.
Before we do
Description of
it.
what we're actually wanting appraised,
Yeah.
because there is not a separate parcel right now. We
Yeah.
obviously don't want the entire park appraised.
Yeah,
Beyond the scope.
yeah, but like we're not surveyed, so it's super difficult. We don't have a really good.
The other part of it is using it as an asset rather than, obviously there's a business that has utilized it up to this point without needing a survey, without needing easements, without needing anything else. Rather than dumping thousands of dollars in to do a survey and appraisal and everything else, I would be inclined and open to a discussion with Centerpoint about a lease or a rent, either in barter system, for removal of village piers or storage of village boat lifts or what have you, in lieu of rent, or just basically a percentage of storage costs that they're taking in, and use it to put back into the park fund, almost like the Lehman Park, to fund future projects. It's not a detriment to us. We might as well see it as an asset, or we could leave it vacant and just, let it grow wild like a park. But I think there's some benefit to reaping at least some residual income in perpetuity that could go back to funding projects at Simmons Woods then,
Isn't Sussex Street, so it ends where you could access it, correct?
I don't know if I'm just pulling it up. I don't know if the parcel goes all the way to the street.
Is it, okay.
I think GIS, and having a conversation with Director Phelan, I think GIS shows what you're describing, Trustee Kreuzer. But the physical parcel of the land between the street and it's like up on the grassy area, I think is more wetland. Or if it could, it'd be very difficult.
It'd have to be accessed through the boat company.
That was my understanding.
What is this?
Yeah, so it's, according to the GIS, it has no access other than through other parcels.
Because it looks like it ends right there, but, I would be, since this all just happened with them and since it's been part of their business model, I would be interested to get a ballpark of maybe what the land is worth and then see if they have any interest in it. In addition to the lease amount and kind of see what would be, compare the options from a financial standpoint.
Yes.
Say, Nick, I could see your wheels spinning from here.
Dick, you have your hand up?
Yeah, trustee Pater, what would a survey or an evaluation cost for something like that?
I don't know what a survey or evaluation costs, but an appraisal would, and it's just land, it's difficult because the information is like not a ton. But if we ask for a rent schedule, depending upon the person, I would say between $350 and $600.
So just a few $100s.
I would guess even a boundary survey, you're probably looking at 1,500 to $2,000.
Okay.
I'd say that's fair.
Because I think they charged me $2,000 to do my personal home one, and it's less acreage than this.
But there, I mean, we could get a rough guesstimate of like what per acreage land in this area, you know,
Right.
near the highway, like should be.
Yeah, because like we can do appraisals as if we're pretending, like we do it all the time for new build, like as if the building,
Right. Yeah.
so.
I'll throw my 2 cents worth in, and that is that I would like to see the property sold off. And if hopefully the marina would like to purchase it, mainly because then we don't have to worry about maintaining it. Plus, it would add to their value of their property, which would help us in the long run too, when it comes to taxes value. So I'm looking at it as a kind of, I don't want to say a windfall, but I'm kind of looking at it as a piece of property that we've never used. There is no, I mean, we could somehow use it, maybe, I don't know. But if the boat company would like to purchase the land and they agree to a price, I think it's a good situation for both the village and them to own the property. Yes, sir.
I love the art of negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, it sounds like if we were to approach Centerpoint with this option and this idea, they hold all of the leverage. What I would recommend doing is getting an appraisal done on it, and then we can also approach other likely suitors to use that property. Just things that came to mind. Communication companies for billboards. They would purchase that land, put up billboards, digital billboards. They can utilize it. I don't know about the right of way. Or we could build our own billboard and lease it to communication companies and get revenue that way as well. There's a lot of options you can do with the land. So we just have to maybe communicate that to Centerpoint. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really interesting idea as well. I mean, I know there's not gonna be a house there, but the value of the land increases drastically with billboards. You would think it would be opposite.
Right.
Yeah, but go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, well, I guess one last thing I want to mention, and I think trustee Grubowski mentioned, was the fact that it is a piece of parkland. Whatever proceeds, whatever benefit that we receive from it, I do believe the proceeds should go into improving or maintaining village parks.
100%.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's a part. Yeah.
If we're talking about longevity and, like I said, income in perpetuity, I'd rather see it as boat storage than a billboard. We don't need another one called That's All along the highway right outside the main exit to our village. I'm not crazy about billboards. I'm not even crazy about the one that Centerpoint actually put on the back of their barn that has illuminated type on it because it's bright as hell and a scrolling marquee. So I agree with you in the art of negotiation and how this should be approached. And I agree with you in there's greater benefit in seeing residual income because this is nice mailbox money potentially that, you know, this is washing our jeans every month and finding, you know, money in the pocket. But I think we
to
should be.
Jeff's point, the tax base from selling it also increases there.
But we could sell it to a communications company. Well,
I'm just saying the purpose or the use that is going to go there, we control. There's a lot of things in the village. that people complain about that we have no control over. You know, Ashley Furniture moving back in, another bank opening, we have no control over that. A car wash going in, you know? Here it is, we have something we can control, just like across 16 on the other side of Simmons Woods. We have property there. We are in direct control of what can go there, and what can go there should be only beneficial to the residents and the aesthetics of the village. Otherwise, we leave it as park is my vote, but
Yeah, it would be interesting to see the value
yeah.
of everything involved.
Mhm.
Okay.
I would very much
Because
like
we
that.
don't know
Yeah.
at this time, you know, it was just, I'd like to know all of our options.
Right. And then we could bring those options in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we get an assess value, even if it's a ballpark, then at least we have a starting point too, for negotiations.
Okay, so that's how staff should proceed in getting an evaluation and bringing it back to the board at that time? Okay,
Support that.
yep. Would you want to do that in closed session then, Matt?
Which part? Coming back with, well, first, I think there should be some sort of motion for the direction here
Okay.
that's been given. Just so
Okay.
staff is clear and we have a clear record of that.
Okay,
The results of any appraisal would not, or evaluation of the land would not necessarily occur in closed session. That would come back in open session. We're just looking at a generic appraisal report of the property, its worth, potential rent schedule, that sort of thing. That would be public record. That would occur in open session.
okay, and then up until that point, we don't know if we're gonna sell it, lease it, keep it, whatever.
Correct. I think the direction, at least I'm hearing from the board, is we need a data point to make the next step. I think that's a very prudent course of action.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
Sorry, Attorney Lindsay.
Yes.
So if we're reviewing the appraisal amount in the idea that it might be a sale, that would be done not in closed session?
Correct.
Right,
Because
Don't
you
we
just
don't we
have-
sometimes go to closed session for like negotiating sales and,
that's when we have somebody we're negotiating.
Correct, but at that point, if we're just evaluating a value, we're looking at a number. We're not negotiating. There's no bargaining reason to go into closed session. That was substantial.
but it reduces future bargaining and negotiating with the public.
Not necessarily, because you're just looking at a number. That's not to say that the board has to hold to that number. Yeah,
Okay,
that's just data at that point.
okay. Thank
So
you.
we're making a motion to get the appraisal done, correct?
Correct.
Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to proceed with the appraisal of the Simmons Wood Park parcel. You'll have to say all the letters.
Second, Vader.
We have a motion and a second, further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. And on the next three, we are not gonna discuss any of those in open session, correct?
No, there is an open session component to each of those. So there needs to be some, at least basic discussion in open session. So the next three, we will do individually. Relevant staff will make a report with a likely recommendation that it be discussed in later closed session. But
Okay, review, discussion, and possible action on negotiation between the Village of Pewaukee and the Pewaukee Police Association to extend the collective bargaining agreement. Matt?
Thank you, President Knudsen. So as the board is aware, the village has a collective bargaining agreement with its police association. The current agreement expires at the end of this year. And so representatives of the village and of the association have been in communication for approximately 3 months in exchanging proposals. I roughly recall that we've had 2 electronic exchanges and then 3 separate meetings where we've exchanged terms and discussed them. We've reached a point right now where both sides are somewhat firm in their position. And so it'd be appropriate to bring the board up to speed at that point and reach additional input for the negotiating team to have a better understanding of what our parameters
And Administrator, you would like that discussion to occur in closed session?
are. Yes, please.
Thank you. So I think it would be appropriate for the board to have that discussion in closed session later on down the agenda.
Okay, next one is the review discussion on possible action on Washington County case 2024 CV 1584 WMC et al. v. Village of Pewaukee et al. Again, Matt, or whichever Matt.
That works on both accounts. So I can take this one. So this is the case number you just read, President Knutson. This is the case involving the challenge from a number of plaintiffs as to the legality of the fire and EMS fee. The parties have filed cross motions for summary judgment in that case. As a reminder, the village is represented by defense counsel, Attorney Joe Worth and his firm through your insurance company. The village, as well as the WMC plaintiffs, have filed, like I said, cross motions for summary judgment, which is asking a court to essentially make a determination on the questions presented as a matter of law prior to any jury or anything like that. So those motions are set for a hearing on December 9th, which is coming up very quickly. And this is a good point for the board to review the status of that litigation, possible outcomes of that hearing on the motions, and determine strategy going forward. So that's the purpose of discussing that litigation strategy, is why we have that on for closed session. And again, that will occur later on down the agenda.
Okay, item J, review discussion and possible action on notice of claim filed by Joe Chefsky. Again, Matt, would you like to, or which, whatever, Matt?
I can do that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
So again, this is set for closed session discussion later on down the agenda. The village received a notice of claim from a gentleman named Joe Shefsky, which was forwarded to the village's insurance company for evaluation and recommendation. Their investigation has been completed. They have made a recommendation to disallow the claim of Mr. Shefsky. My understanding is they provided that recommendation to the claimant directly. If he has not received it yet, he will shortly. But it's on for closed session discussion for the board to review with counsel the recommendation of the insurance company as to that claim, and discuss a response to that and how to proceed on that claim. And that'll be discussed in closed session later on down the agenda.
Okay, with that being said, I'm going to move into closed session, or I'm going to read the next item. The village board of the Village of Pewaukee will enter a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 1985 1E for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically regarding negotiations between the Village of Pewaukee and the Pewaukee Police Association to extend a collective bargaining agreement pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 1985 1G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically regarding Washington County case 2024 CV 1584 WMC ETL versus Village of Pewaukee ETAL, and a notice of claim filed by Joe Shefsky. After conclusion of any closed session, the village board will convene an open session pursuant to Wisconsin State Sections 1985-2 for the purpose possible additional review, discussion, and action concerning these items to address the remaining meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to move into closed session?
Motion to move into closed session.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Stauff,
You're yes.
to move into closed session.
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Rhodey,
Yes.
Trustee Belt.
Yes.
Trustee Pater,
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser,
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski.
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes.
Glad you asked those.
Yeah, you, 3 of you were here. Yeah, it was.
If you need him to mop the floors, let me know. My babysitter fell through again.
They don't want to come up here?
That would be terrible.
Okay, we're gonna go back to, review, discussion, and possible action on notice of claim filed by Joe Chevsky. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to disallow the claim.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion is hereby carried. Citizen comments, we have no one here this evening. Item 10 is adjournment.
Motion to, oh, go.
You?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Take some more home.
No, I had one. That's my
Oh,
quota.
Forgot to open up the mints.
oh, next time. Thanks. It's not terrible.
Always wanted to be a part of it.